What is going on, everybody? I'm Dr. Professor Luigi, and today I'm showing a comparison of the old MTS trailer system and the one that I just finished updating. Figured this would be a great way to give a sneak peek on what's coming down the pipeline as far as my trailers and the improved MTS trailers. So first we're going to go ahead and show off one thing. And so the first is these trailers dip into the ground. I fixed that that's an UNU side update, not an MTS thing. But if anyone is familiar with, there we go. If anyone's familiar with MTS, you know that if you try to get one of these long boy trailers onto this semi truck, what's going to happen? So let's go ahead and pop this up. And of course, this is an older version of MTS, so it spazzes out. Okay, that's par for the course. This is no surprise. And then of course, if you take some tow trucks and you try to make a awesome, super cool tow truck chain, you sort of run into the same issue. Let me go ahead and, well, the same and a different issue. So let's go ahead and start up the engine. And so you just get a bunch of bouncy vehicles. And so you get that wonderful spazzy trailer, you get a wonderful spazzy vehicles, and yeah, so you try to make a really awesome little truck train and it just turns into a mess. And the reason this is like this is the way MTS tries to figure out where trailers are supposed to go. Because when you have an entirely customized system where anybody can make anything, it becomes pretty difficult to sort of code everything so it's generic. So the way MTS's trailers work, and the reason why it's spazzing, is because the trailer just doesn't inherently know where it's supposed to be. You can't know that. Everything's moving. And so what it does is it can figure out what direction it needs to go, and then it moves a certain amount in that direction. It'd be easy to figure out exactly where it needed to be if every single trailer had the exact same proportions and coordinates and everything was fine. But that's just not how it be. So it spazzes because the trailers need to find where they need to go. They don't just know where they need to go. And so one thing that demonstrates this is if you get a shorter trailer. And so if I have this, well, I'm going to need a tractor or something. So if I have this right here and I have this really short trailer, it's a little short baby trailer. Notice that if I connect it, it only helps up and down. These tow trucks are not spazzing side to side like these trailers are. And that's because these trailers are longer. And so when they rotate side to side, they have, a little bit of rotation means a lot of rotation on this end because they're rotating by the same angles to find where they need to go. And so because this trailer is longer, the end ends up rotating more and then it just kind of gets caught in a back and forth loop. And then the same reason why these bounce is they know that they need to move down onto the hitch, and so the entire vehicle moves down, but then it moves too much, and so then it needs to move back up, and because that movement distance is a set distance, it gets caught in an infinite bouncing loop. So the way I fixed that was here we've got, and there's one other thing that I would like to demonstrate really quick. This is a very professional video. I just want to, explain my whole method behind this because I've been working on this for quite a while. The solution I ended up finding was pretty simple, but it was I tried something more complicated, and so you notice when you log back on, all the trailers are disconnected and they're all separated. That's because trailers don't have brakes or anything, so they just kind of, disconnect. And in fact, this one's so far away that it can't even hook up anymore. And so when you have these trailers spazzing around and then you disconnect them, well, they drift away, and that gets really annoying, especially if it disconnects when it's moving really fast. It'll fly away and go pretty far sometimes. You can see all these trucks are all over the place, and that's part of it because it's bouncing, and part of it because there's no brake, and it's a complete and total mess. So, of course, I've been working on this. Everyone who's familiar with the MTS Discord knows that I've been working on this for quite a while. Obviously, I haven't been non-stop working on it. I've got other things to do. I have to update my own packs. I have to make those tutorials that I never make and go to school and all that stuff. So this has really been on and off for the past couple months. So the first thing I did is the parking brake. So when you connect a trailer, it turns off the parking brake. That allows you to tow parked cars in case someone left the parking brake on and they're towed in a tow-away zone. And then if you disconnect the trailer, and it is a trailer, because you can tow vehicles, but there's also vehicles that are specifically a trailer, and that allows them to translate the lights and several other things. And so if you disconnect a trailer and it is a trailer, it will turn on the parking brake. So it won't do that if you're just towing a normal car, but it will do that if you're towing a trailer. So that's sort of the idea there, and that'll prevent trailers from drifting. That's a very simple one. The next is that side-to-side spazzing that the long trailers get. And while I'm explaining this, I'm going to go ahead and get the the fixed stuff all launched up. So the next was the side-to-side spazzing. And the way I did that was normally this delta yaw here. This is what actually determines how far it pivots back and forth. It would normally just be divided by 10. That's sort of the default value that Don set. It's sort of like a way to make it so it doesn't move too much. What I modified it to is it takes the distance of the trailer. So this is the hookup position of the trailer. This is from 0 to where the trailer connects to whatever it's being towed by. This sort of gives you a proportional length of the trailer, and then I multiply that by 2 because an average car is about 5 blocks long. So if you have like the average sized thing, sorry for the mic pops there. If you have like an average sized thing, it's still going to be about 10. And then if you have a longer trailer, it'll be a bigger number, and so that delta will be divided by a bigger number, making that delta smaller, making it pivot side to side less. So that's what that is. And then the most hardcore part was stopping the up and down bouncing, because that's something that was caused by all vehicles. Now I did have this gigantic crazy equation here. This is what took me, I spent a couple days making this. And what this is this takes the distance of the wheels on the ground. And so at the end of the day, when you are towing something, you want the back wheels of what you're towing and the back wheels of the vehicle that's doing the towing to be on the same level. That's your end goal, right? So I can demonstrate that with less bouncy vehicles. All right. So first thing when I log on, you'll notice that there's a bunch of trailers, but nothing's drifting other than that tractor. All right. So let's go over here to the new and improved. So I'm actually just gonna use the new tow trucks because I have that all set up. So, oh hey, look, they lined up pretty well. So if you hook up a trailer, first thing you'll notice, hey look, it's not bouncing anymore. And so when you have a trailer hooked up like this is probably the most extreme case of towing. Because if you have a trailer, like a normal truck trailer, all the wheels are going to be on the ground, and the trailer is going to be more or less level. And so when you're towing a normal trailer, it's a pretty simple system. But when you're towing a vehicle, it's jacked up like this. And so you can't just try to say, okay, I want to make this truck level. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to figure out what you want the case to be. And so the way the motion pitch, this is the line that was making everything bouncy. Because right here was just set to 1, which means the amount that truck is going to pitch to try to get to its little mounting point is a set value. And so it's going to pitch, it's going to pass it, it's going to hop up, and then it's going to pitch again and pass it and hop up and fall, and it's going to bounce because it's constantly trying to fall at a set rate. Now, if you make it slower, so instead of 1, you do 0.01 or 0.1, it'll fall slower, it'll get closer to where it needs to be, and then it will stop bouncing. But then you have a truck that's constantly falling in slow motion whenever you're towing it. This is at the moon. So you have to have some sort of in-between. And so what I set the way I set it up is the closer you are to whatever you want your end goal to be, the slower the truck moves. And the fastest it can go is 1, and the slowest it can go is 0.1. And if it's in between the desired states, it'll sort of slow down and get to where it needs to go. That way, the closer it gets to its goal, the slower it moves. And so the desired goal that I set, if you have something like this, you could say, okay, I want this angle to be 0. And the closer it is to 0, the slower it moves. That's pretty easy, but that doesn't work for something like this. And so what I ended up doing was, if this back wheel is at the same elevation as this back wheel, then it's on flat ground, it's about where it needs to be, so slow down. And the closer this wheel is to the height of this wheel, the slower the truck will fall. Now that works great, but if you're on a slope, well then this wheel needs to be lower than this wheel, and that's what all this math is. This is all a bunch of giant trig to basically account for slopes. I couldn't get this thing to work. It's a pain in the butt, as you can see. There's a bunch of averaging. So obviously there's two wheels in the back, so I find the average height between those just in case someone decides to put a bigger wheel over here. That is where this MTS stuff gets really complicated, because you can't assume that these two wheels are going to be at the same ground height. You can't assume that these two wheels are going to be at the same height, because maybe you're towing a tractor and there's a giant wheel, so you have to have the bottom of the wheel, and so it's a bunch of averages and calculations like that, which is what really makes this nasty. At the end of the day, I couldn't get this thing to work. I got it to work where you're towing one vehicle, but then if you connected another vehicle, it would freeze the game because something was dividing by 0. And so at the end of the day, I just said, okay, we're going to assume that you're on flat ground. So if you're on a slope, you're still going to have bouncy trailers. Most roads are flat, or flat-ish, close enough. So that is what stopped that. So that is everything that I did to make trailers awesome. And so now I'm going to showcase the new UNU trailers. So an UNU update pack is in the works. We got a couple new vehicles over there, and we have some updated trailers. So the first thing you'll notice, these trailers stand up all by themselves. Very cool. Some of them use an Invisawheel to stand up, but it's pretty cool. They're all finally standing up, so you can have a really awesome dock or shipping yard or whatever you want. The only one that doesn't stand up is the two-wheel dolly, which makes sense. It'll just pitch down because it doesn't have one of these little stand things. So now the moment we've all been waiting for, let's hook up these trailers. So first, you already saw that it's not bouncing over there, so we'll hook up these trucks. And so obviously all these doors are open, and so this is to demonstrate the parking brake thing. So all these trucks have their parking brake on, but as soon as I hook them up, the parking brake turns off. And you see they do bounce a little bit sometimes when you initially hook them up, but this bouncing will stop. And so once you hook them up, the parking brake turns off. And because these are not trailers, these are vehicles, the parking brake will not re-engage. And so yeah, you've got some super cool, not bouncy trailers. It's pretty nice. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the parking brake here and get this truck to stop. Now, it would be nice to have the parking brake turn on right when you release the vehicle and then sort of turn off, but then you won't be able to launch vehicles all super cool. So vehicles that are being towed, they're not going to have that whole parking brake thing that prevents them from drifting, because you don't really need that. Trailers do. So this is a trailer, and what makes a trailer and not a towed vehicle is the fact that, it'd help if I hook these up first. When you hit the brakes, all the lights come on. So you can see this is something new that I updated, that Don and I worked on, that I suggested and Don added. So you can see all the lights come on. And so these trailers do bounce back and forth a little bit. Obviously, this is a lot less than it was, so it's all hooked up and it's not spazzing out. And so we're actually moving. Now, if you turn really sharp, it is going to spaz out a bit, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. Like, this is so nice. And so there is one weird rotation thing. You notice that the stand on this back trailer folded up just fine. The stand on this front trailer, for some reason, doesn't. That's just a rotation bug that I already pointed out to Don Bruce. So hopefully it's on its way to getting fixed. And so you see we're rolling here a little bit, and if I disconnect the trailer, it will actually come to a stop. So you don't have to worry about trailers, drifting away. Now, one thing that is disappointing is you won't be able to just launch a trailer off in all, fanciness. Like if you wanted to you know, like drive and then turn and launch off a trailer. But at the end of the day, you know, you don't really need to do that. So there is still a little jitter, but that is, you know, that's sort of unavoidable with how MTS handles trailers anyway. So, but yeah, just some nice smooth trailers. When you disconnect them, with the exception of the first trailer you connect for some reason, but you can see this rear trailer here. When I disconnect it, you know, the stand right there is up, so you have the little stand, and then you disconnect it, boom, the stand goes down, you're ready to rock. And you can actually just disconnect all the trailers, and they stay right where you put them, so you don't have to worry about them drifting away. This is really nice, because I also added some default parts to trailers. So if you go into the UNU Civilian pack, of course, you know, why would you use anything else? And you take, you know, some nice trailers, you know, we all love some explosive stuff. You can just sort of set them down. Boom. Trailer. Done. You don't have to worry about it drifting around. You don't have to worry about it falling into the ground and looking ugly. You are now ready to awesomely decorate your awesome things. And so this completely phases out these old decorational trailers that I haven't updated in forever, and they'll probably crash the game if you place them. They will be removed. But yeah, now all the trailers, with the exception of this single dolly, can now be automatically just placed down and deployed. So it's very cool. Of course, you're getting some nice sneak peek of the new UNU HUDs that I made, since Don Bruce added the ability for better custom HUDs and custom buttons and everything. So yeah, trailers, they're fixed, they're improved, and they're better than ever. I hope you look forward to the update of UNU that's going to be coming out very soon. I'm probably going to add a couple more trailers now that they're super fun and super not spazzy. But yeah, expect this to be added in MTS hopefully 17.2.1 or 17.3. Don just released an update, so hopefully it's fixed. Unfortunately, that update didn't fix the steering issue with the rotations, but hey, it is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this sort of long-winded explanation of how I fixed trailers, but I figured it was worth showcasing because I spent quite a long time doing it, and the end product is super cool. See you guys next time.